Right now, I am an English teacher. This is my 27th year in education. Um, I have been a high school English teacher, actually left the classroom for a little while. I was an assistant principal and then a principal for 5 years. And I enjoyed that a lot, but in my heart, I am an English teacher. So we moved and I had the opportunity to teach again at an early college, which is non-traditional and just to me, it's the way that teaching should be. It's very collaborative, hands-on, small classrooms. So when I got the opportunity to do that, I jumped on it and that's where I've been ever since. I love it.
So what made you want to become an educator? Not only that, what made you want to become an educator, but why English?
I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. When I was little, I played school. I pretended to be a teacher. So there was never really much doubt that that's what I wanted to do. As far as being an English teacher, we learned early on that I don't math well at all. But I like to write. That's something that comes very easy to me. And I love to read. I've always loved to read. I would read anything I could get my hands on when I was little. And so that was just sort of, um, it was the part of school that I liked the most. So I thought that should be the area of teaching that I went into. And I have loved it. I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching English literature to other students.
Now, or I'm gonna ask a question here. So, my mom is a elementary school teacher, first grade. Um,
Oh,
yep. So she would always use me and my brother as examples, like as she was teaching. So our names would always come up, and she would be like, yeah, "I know elementary school is a lot different than the age level you teach, but." She would just always be like, Spencer has $2, Jordan has $1. How much money did they have? Did you ever do that while you were teaching? Like,
oh yes. Part of my teaching style is storytelling.
okay,
If you and I think that works whether it's first grade or ninth grade or 10th grade. But if you can get a student to relate,
hmm
you stand a much better chance of them paying attention. So I use stories about my children all the time. I might not use them as an example like that, but I would tell a story about Caegan or a story about Cameron as it related to whatever we're covering in class. And now I don't think he ever minded that attention. Cameron
Mm-mm.
has not enjoyed it as much, which Cameron was actually in my class in the ninth grade.
okay.
So, that was kind of awkward. I had to tone my stories down a little bit that semester. But
I,
yeah,
I am very glad that I did not have my mom as a teacher because I don't know if I would have been able to handle her literally 24 hours a day.
well, that's how it was. He rode to school with me, and then he was in my class, and he rode home with me. It was a whole lot of together time.
You
Mhm.
But
go
we
ahead.
got go ahead. No, what were you going to say, sweetheart?
Well, I have a lot to say, so you might as well just finish what you were gonna say.
Well, Cameron did not enjoy being in my classroom. He said that I was mean to him, which is absolutely not the truth. But he said I was much tougher on him than I was any other student.
Well, sure, you had to be.
Well, he was just mean.
Well, obviously, well, Cameron probably needed it, but I mean, let's be. I mean, he might not understand. He's old enough to understand that you can't show your child in your class special treatment. You can't even give him equal treatment, really.
Well, and he's not a fan of English, so I think had I taught you enjoyed those classes more, it might have been a different story. But he did not love the class. Period.
Oh yeah. But yeah, you were talking about like us being together a lot, like us having to ride to school together a lot. Like those were some of my like core childhood memories was being because you taught the high school for a long time and like I thought I had an experience that nobody else had, me and like a little handful of kids because we got to ride the bus to the high school and that was a big deal. And when we got there every afternoon, every mom would have snacks waiting on you, and then we would spend the whole afternoon playing like basketball and dodgeball in the gym, and we would just get in all kinds of adventures. And I mean, it was the most fun. But another part of that was, like you said, you used me in stories all the time, and of course I ate up all the attention. But these like kids, and you know, when you're little, how big high school kids look to you. And these, you know, big kids would come up to me and be like, hey, like I didn't even know who they were. And they'd be like, oh, I heard about how you pooped in the back seat of the car, or whatever it was, you know, like just something crazy, you know. And I would be like, who is this guy, you know? Or it'd be like some really good looking like cheerleader, you know, and I'd get, you know, really, I would blush. But yeah, my whole childhood was that, being around the high school kids. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Well, and then those tables were turned a little bit when
The turns were tabled.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that reference. When you were at Wayne Community and you were a college student there, but you were in and out of my classroom all the time. And so everything sort of flipped, and my high school students thought you were the coolest because you were the big kid.
That is true. I didn't really think about that. It did kind of flip flop, didn't it?
Mm-hmm, it did.
So let's go back to you being a teacher. So let's walk through your journey as a teacher here. So, your very first job was where?
My very first job was at the alternative school in Sampson County. I started in like mid-year in January, and I taught 6th through 12th grade English in one room. I mean, not Little House on the Prairie, not all, you know, not all the kids at one time, but multiple grade levels at one time in one room. And that was it was different, but I really do think that all teachers should have that particular experience at some point in their career. I learned a lot at the alternative school.
Didn't a child put their hands on you at one point? Didn't that happen?
Yes, that did happen. Which, you know, the times were different. That was in 1997, maybe 7 or 8. So, you know, that's been a minute ago, and things were different, and it was handled. However, at the end of that year, the opportunity presented itself for me to move to Midway High School, which was local and a more traditional high school. And so I jumped at that chance. So my first traditional teaching experience was at Midway.
Okay. And so you've gone from the high school then to the middle school, correct?
Mm-hmm. I taught for 13 years at the high school, and then I was an assistant principal at the middle school.
Right. And so in between those two jumps, you know, you got your master's, and then you wanted to become an administrator. So why did you want to make that jump?
Well, several reasons. Logically, it was the next step. I got my degree in teaching. I felt like I was, you know, a pretty good teacher. I got my national board certification, and you know, there's not a whole lot of opportunity to climb the educational ladder, but a master's was sort of the next step. And I really thought that, you know, I had a vision for what was going really well in school and what could be tweaked, what could be made better. And I wanted to use that. So I got my master's in administration, and I decided I wanted to be a principal. However, I loved being in the classroom, and I really had a hard time once I graduated. I wouldn't apply for jobs because I was just afraid to leave the classroom. I loved it. And finally, my principal, who was also my mentor as I was going through the admin program, told me that if I didn't start applying for jobs, that they were going to overlook me because I was just sitting on that degree. And so the position at Midway Middle School opened, and he encouraged me to apply, and I did, and I got the job. But I did not think I was ready at that point. I just did not want to leave the classroom, but I'm glad I did.
So looking back, were you ready?
I was. Looking back, I was burnt out on education. I was a teacher that got to school early and stayed late, and I said yes to everything. So I was in charge of a lot of stuff, and just, by nature, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to work. So I had I had reached the point where I needed to do something a little bit different. It was a good thing. It was a scary thing, but it was a good thing.
Okay. And so then, you went from middle school, excuse me, and you're kind of moving backwards here, and you go to the elementary school with the little kids.
Yes.
So, so you've seen all three phases of that. What are the biggest differences between those age groups of kids?
There's not a lot of difference in those age groups. I don't think. I think a kindergartner, um, everything is brand new. They're excited. They're not always really mature, maybe not ready for that level, but their kindergarten teachers get them there. Um, that's very similar to a sixth grader in middle school. They're the little kid. They're the baby. They're not always mature. They're still sweet. They've got a lot to learn. And then, the same thing in the ninth grade. You get a kid, they might not be really mature, but they're so excited. It's brand new. They're the babies. So, to me, I think the main difference is that they just get taller. Um, it doesn't matter the age group. They all need to be loved, and you have to build a relationship with them before you can teach them, whether they're a kindergartner or a sixth grader or a ninth grader.
So, so you talk about being, administrator. What's the toughest part about having to move into that disciplinarian role?
The toughest part for me, where we lived, is that those schools were very community oriented, and because your dad and your uncle coached sports, and it was such a small community. I knew all those kids, and I was friends with their parents. We went to church together, and it was difficult for me to be firm and fair and consistent when they were kids that spent the night at our house or rode home from church with us. It was very important to me to be fair and consistent, but that was a difficult thing.
Mm-hmm. So what's been the most rewarding part of being a teacher?
Oh gosh. Well, I love when my students come back. I love to see students that maybe struggled, on one level or another, and didn't believe that they could do. And, I gave them, they connected with me for whatever reason. And then, they come back years later and they've found a level of success, and they, deserved or not, they'll give their teacher a little bit of that credit. When I went to the middle school, I was part of the team that hired someone to teach English who had been in my classroom, and she told me that I was the reason she wanted to become a teacher, and which of course made me feel good about myself. And she went on to be a really, really good teacher. And then I was able to be an administrator at the school where she worked in her first position. And she just this year has moved into administration. And we had that same conversation. And she said that I was also the reason that she wanted to be an administrator. So when it comes full circle like that, and you realize that, maybe you did make a difference in somebody's life, then of course, that's good stuff.
That's one of the things, like like when we were younger, we'd go eat and all as a family, and there'd just be like random kids, and would come up to my mom and just be like, "Hey, Miss Hargrove," and they would be older, and I'd just be like, "Who was that?" And my mom would just answer, be like, "Yeah, somebody I taught, some kid I taught back in when you were younger." And then some of them would be like, "That's your son, like that's the one you used to talk about." Now I'm grown. I'm like, man, that's hard to believe that like my mom's been teaching like for that long, and they still like remember Miss Hargrove from first grade, and
Oh
that's
Spence, we never went to eat anywhere local that our waiter or waitress was not one of Mom's students
yeah,
ever.
it never failed.
You could not go to the Cracker Barrel in Dunn, North
No,
Carolina. You couldn't. That
no.
one was the worst. I mean, every single one of them.
And we'd go to there's a little place here. It's called Carolina Barbecue and Chicken, and you'd go there every Sunday after church. It's good. It's home cooked. Like I mean,
Jones barbecue and
yeah,
foot massage.
yeah, it is country cooking at its finest. And either the lady you see when you first walk in the door, my mom taught her kids or her grandkids or one of the things. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yep. Yep. Now I have not taught a grandchild
Mhm.
yet, but when I was at Midway Elementary, just enough time had passed that the students I had in the 11th grade at Midway High School had grown up and got married, and their children were starting school. So I had lots and lots of kindergartners and first graders who were the children of the students I taught. That was pretty cool, but it made me feel a little bit old. But I think, when I start hitting that all, teaching the grandchildren, that might be when I say farewell.
Hang
That
it
might
up.
be.
So the school you're at now,
Mhm.
has say the name for us because it's a long name.
Oh, it is a long
Ridiculous.
name. We call it WMCHUS, but that WMCHUS stands for Wayne Early Middle College High School.
So the
We'll just
school
call
you're
it
at now,
Wayne of all grades. I mean,
Well, kind of, but
not of all grades.
it's Wayne Early Middle, but it's only 9 through 12.
well, okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So the school you're at now, it's early college, so it's non-traditional.
Mhm.
So the kids you're teaching, are a little different. And I think they would tell you that. They know they're not the athletes. They're the artsy types, and they're a little different. Not that they're, and those kids are wonderful. Not that there's anything wrong with them at all. But don't you think that teaching there is, talking about teaching being a rewarding experience, don't you think that it's a little bit more rewarding to teach those kids? Aren't they a little bit more special?
Well, every kid is special,
I, but I,
Kagan.
well, and I'm just saying from seeing you, like it just seemed like you enjoyed building those relationships with those kids a little bit more.
Well, the opportunity presents itself at that school to build relationships. I mean, it's a core concept, and I think if traditional schools could be set up a little more like ours, you would see a lot more of the team building, the family atmosphere. But I'm so fortunate in that our classes are so small. There are only 60 kids per grade level at our school. So, I had the biggest class I've ever had this year. I had one of my ninth grade sections, and it had 17 kids in it. And that was huge to me. But, in a traditional school, 30 kids is a small classroom. So I think our setup lends itself to that family atmosphere. But our kids, they are a little bit different. Typically they're mature. You have to be. We're asking a ninth grader, a 14-year-old, to be a college student, and to take double the course load as a normal high school student. So they're a little more mature. They're not necessarily any more academically advanced. We have a lot of English language learners at our school, which makes my job a little more challenging, because if English is not their first language, then they can't just whip out a paper in 10 minutes before it's due. So there are challenges, and they are special, but I think a lot of that is cultivated by the atmosphere at our school. Family is it's at the top of the list as far as importance. We work hard, but we play hard, and we do all that together.
I like that. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so your school is kind of neat. I'm a little jealous, because obviously, you guys don't do some of the things that a quote unquote normal school, a traditional school would do. Like, there's not the Friday night football pep rally type stuff going on, but you guys make up for that by doing some really cool stuff. Like, could you name a few of the things that you guys do that are different?
Well, because we don't have athletics, we do things like we have it's like homeroom, but we call it house. And
Because you're a family.
because we are a family, and you stay with your house. Like, if I'm your house teacher in the 9th grade, then I'm your house teacher until you graduate, and I actually put your robe on you at a separate ceremony, when you're a senior. But we have house, and so we take care of the housekeeping type. They get their schedules, their report cards, all that good stuff. But twice a week during house, we do something called connections, where we just talk. We tell each other what's going well. We talk about our challenges together. We talk about how to fix those, and then we do team building activities. So that's something that we do in the classroom on a regular basis. But on Fridays, there are no college classes in the afternoon, so we have to fill that time. And the way we fill that time is we all get outside and we play together. It's like a field day several times a year. Or we do a talent show. We do minute to win it assemblies. Gosh, I'm trying to think, Caegan. What are some of the things you remember us doing?
Well, obviously, I wasn't a part of it, but I would.
No, but you saw so much of it. Oh, we have an Easter egg hunt. That's one of the coolest things that we do.
I should have went to that school.
Oh, it is so much fun. And because we're so small and so comfortable with each other, like nobody worries about whether or not it's the cool thing to do. Like, we just all get together and we can be silly. We can be kindergartners and enjoy an Easter egg hunt. And when I tell you, they go nuts trying to find those Easter eggs. I mean, it's the best thing. I love it. It's so much fun to watch.
Everybody except our dear beloved Cameron, right? He's just a stick in the mud.
Well, he bought in, which Cameron missed a lot. So much of Cameron's high school experience was cut short by COVID. But yeah, not really his jam anyway.
But the two I really, really thought were so cool. Minute to Win It, that was cool.
Yeah.
And
what is Minute to Win It?
It's based off of a TV show. I don't know if it's still running, but that was the idea, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and it's just all these different activities, and like a representative from each house will get up on stage, and they have a minute to complete some task, like building a tower out of marshmallows and spaghetti noodles, or just silly little things. But everything's a competition, a house competition, and when you win a house competition, you get the gold star. And so our houses just fight tooth and nail to hold the gold star. Like, that's
does the house that has the most gold stars, do they get like a pizza party at the end of the year?
Yeah. There's the star, and then we're the Mustangs. That's our mascot, and then there's a big trophy. So the goal is to end up. Well, the ultimate goal, it's kind of like the Triple Crown. The ultimate goal is to end up with both. And, I have to say that Price's house does a pretty good job of, racking up stars and Mustang awards.
Take no prisoners.
Well, I didn't come here to lose, so.
No, we did. Yeah, the two let's say, yeah, you had Minute to Win It. The other one that I think my all-time favorite was Black History Month Assembly. That was just so cool.
Oh, well, and so that we do have so many talented artistic students at our school, and they're not afraid to get dressed up and sing and dance, and they just go all out in that. That's really it's a talent showcase. That's one of my favorite things as well.
Oh yeah, that's neat. And like the teachers get involved. I mean, and there are talented teachers at Wing.
Sure.
And you guys do you do a lip sync battle too?
We do. That's a
Yeah.
house competition. We do a lip sync battle. Sometimes we do, it's called Oscar night, and each house gets together and they make their own movie. And then we get really dressed up. We have a red carpet. We come into the auditorium like totally dressed to get an award, and we have a panel of judges and they vote on the best movie. And we do a lot of cool stuff like that.
See, Spence, wouldn't you have just loved to do that in high school?
Yes, that would have been awesome. I might would have done better in high school if I had all that.
Highly doubt it.
I'm making this now. Me and you are going to Oscar night and the lip sync battle. We're coming to all these. I'll take half a day.
You should come check us out. And I'm telling you, it is learning the way it should be. Because as much fun as we have, our students, they excel academically, but it is a really cool place to be. I love teaching there.
So traditional public school, take note, because you're doing it wrong.
Well, that's
my high school principal, and I'm gonna show her this episode.
Do what? Say that again.
High school principal, this episode. I'm saying this is how we should have done it.
That's right. That's right.
I have a complaint. So what is your funniest moment in education?
Oh my word.
Or maybe your craziest story. There's a few that I can think of, but I'll let you.
But oh gosh, honey. Well, what's one that you can think of?
There's two off the top of my head. One about the pig.
Oh Lord.
The Charlotte's Web story. Tell that.
Okay.
And there's also the Gilbert Bay story. That one's always funny to me.
Oh, I like the Gilbert Bay story as well.
Tell both of those. They're quick.
Okay, real quick. So Caegan was obsessed with Charlotte's Web when he was little, and he would get stuck on a movie, and we would have to watch it over and over and over and over. And his thing was Charlotte Web, and he was at daycare. I was trying so hard to get him out the door and me get to school. It was a teacher work day, and did we get in the car when you realized you didn't have the movie, or did we get down the road?
I don't know. I was too young.
Well, he was going to take the movie to school, and we did not have the movie with us, and he had a full-on meltdown. So we were on the road, so I whipped it back around and went home, got the movie, had to make the phone call of shame to my principal that I was going to be late, and got him in, just threw him out the door at the daycare with his movie. And I
literally flung me out the door. There was
literally just chunked him.
We had to pay off that lawyer. It was a serious deal. It was on Dateline. It was a big deal.
Anyway, I was fit to be tied by the time I finally got to school. I was in tears, and I taught in a mobile unit, so I had to walk through the building and then out the door to get to the trailer where I taught. And I was so mad at Wilbur, the pig in Charlotte's Web, because he had made me late for school. And I walked out the door, and I kid you not, standing in the breezeway between me and my classroom was a baby pig.
Oh man.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
There was a baby pig standing in the breezeway. Turns out it was a prank. It was homecoming week, I think, and a high school had set little pigs loose on our football field, and that one had meandered to my classroom.
Horrible idea for a prank for that day for you.
Yeah. So, but Gilbert Bays is a reporter for a local news station here, Channel 5. And when I was a principal, it was my goal every day. I just wanted to get through the day and not be on the news. Like if I don't want to be on Channel 5. So I left. I had a principal's meeting. I did not have an assistant principal. So it was just me. And I get back to school, and the Channel 5 news van is parked in front of my school. And I thought, oh my gosh, what has happened? Nobody called me, and we are on Channel 5. I mean, I flipped out.
We made it.
Do what?
I said, I'd be like, we made it.
Yeah, we made it. I mean, you just cannot imagine the scenarios that ran through my head between the parking lot and the front door of the school. But as it turns out, Gilbert Bays, who is he's a reporter for Channel 5, he was there, and he was in the front office at my school. But his daughter was a teacher assistant at my school, and I had no idea. So he was just in the area covering a story, and he just, whipped it in there to speak to her. But I thought for sure we had landed on Channel 5 that day. But that's it.
Do you remember the one about the boy who's got the pencil stuck up his butt? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. And I knew you were going to ask me that one. It was just unfortunate. He sat down. He was a big boy, and there was a pencil with the point sticking out.
Somebody put it there, didn't they? Like to be mean, right?
We don't know. But where the seat meets, like in the crease of the seat at the bottom, it was sticking out, and he didn't know it. And you know how kids do, they flop down in their seat. And when he flopped down on that pencil, and it stuck into his little butt cheek, and it was a bad day. It was very bad. Yep. Good times.
So what is your
person
teaching?
that did that to him now has to live with that for the rest of their life?
Well, I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So what is your teaching horror story?
A horror story? I don't think I have one.
Not just like an awful experience, like.
Well, when I was a principal, Cameron was a student at Midway Elementary, and we actually went into a lockdown situation. I was not on campus. I was about 25 minutes away. And so I was trying to get, back to campus when I learned what was going on. And Cameron happened to be in the cafeteria. It was during lunch. So, that was chaotic. They had them hiding in the kitchen area. But I was trying to get back to school. And so I was so afraid as a principal, but I was also so afraid as a mom too, because I had, 500 kids to protect, and one of them was my own. And so that was probably the one of the most horrifying experiences. And it all ended up being okay. The person was apprehended before they got into the school, but that was one of the scariest things.
I remember that day.
Do you? Because were you at the high school then?
Yeah, man. The funny thing about it is we had no clue like that it even happened. And somebody, another teacher picked me up that day, and I was like, that's weird. And she was like, yeah, we had a little code red situation. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, it's all good though. Like, it's fine. And I was like, well, nobody told me. So if something had happened,
Yeah. One of my crazy stories from high school, since we're all just telling crazy stories, my high school
go ahead.
put on lockdown because there was a bear in one of our parking lots.
Oh my gosh.
A black bear. Yep. Yep. And we were on lockdown for a good 2 hours, and we were all looking out the window like there's just a bear sitting there, and there's a picture online, I think.
I mean, you could actually see the bear.
Yes.
Oh, my word.
I'll see if I can find it by the time. I hope we're still going. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Here's the article right here. I don't know if you can see it very good or not. Hang on. Let me see if I can get it. Roanoke Rapids High School lockdown while bear prowls campus.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you can see it very
I
good,
can't.
but there's the
Oh,
bear.
I can. Oh my gosh.
Yep, yep. So it was spotted at like 9 o'clock, and we were there until lunch. And I mean, like everybody was just like outside, and they had to get animal control and all like that. So that was one of my favorite stories.
Gosh, that was very scary, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then we had a
Jeez.
deer run through the weight room window one morning.
A what?
A deer
Oh my
run
gosh.
through our weight room, like
Through a
glass
window?
or library. Yeah. Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
It stuck its head through the window and then couldn't go no further and just got out. I mean, Caegan knows where we live at.
You were
I
reading
mean,
a book,
you
right?
would have never saw my high school. I mean, you would have never thought a deer and a bear would have ended up there.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a little weird. I mean, like at my high school, it's out in the woods, but that was weird.
Hey, y'all are out there with a hollering contest and all, so I mean,
Right.
you never know with that.
Mom, did you went to the hollering contest once?
I went more than once. I went while I was expecting you and got sick off boiled peanuts and threw up. That was my most adventurous hollering contest, but I went to several of them.
Did you throw up like in front of everybody, or did you make it to a porta potty? How did that? I mean,
Oh no, I was behind a tent.
nice.
Yeah, you've been cramping my style a long time.